When peace talks fail, the diplomatic cruisers become warships. What's up, MetaNerdz? This video is all about the Charger C70, the Clone Wars retrofit of the Consular-class cruiser. For about 1,000 years, the Consular was the embodiment of diplomacy across the galaxy. Its deep red coloration signaled to all that this was a ship to be granted diplomatic immunity and that it posed no harm. But in 22 BBY, the galaxy changed forever. The Republic, which had been around for thousands of years, was now under attack by the Confederacy of Independent Systems. To protect the Union, all available ships had to join the war effort, and the Consular became the Charger C70. This new line would still be produced by Corellian Engineering Corporation, the same people that gave us the YT-1300 and CR-90. CEC ships almost always incorporate modular designs, allowing you to change everything from the weaponry to the interior layout. The price of the Consular was never released to the public, but each C70 set the Republic back 1,650,000 credits. This was less than half the cost of the CR-90, and 1/3 that of the Arquitens-class light cruiser. This is a pretty great deal, as it added a ton of weaponry and more defensive capabilities. Let's start by looking at those 5 twin turbo lasers. 4 were located at the midsection, 2 on the dorsal, and 2 on the ventral side. And the 5th one was towards the aft on the dorsal side, perfectly placed for eliminating pursuing enemy craft. This gun up front could be switched for a point defense medium laser cannon, ideal for eliminating starfighters, or a heavy ion cannon, ideal for disabling large capital ships. I'd assume that the strength of the shield was also increased, with some potential evidence pointing to this being that an advanced power generator was swapped in. Its escape pods were doubled from 2 to 4, made available by increasing the overall length of this ship. By adding 23 meters, it jumped to an overall length of 138.55 meters, or 455 feet, making it about an X-wing shorter than the CR-90, and still less than half the length of the Arquitens. Of course, it kept the Salon Pod, that luxury escape pod located just under the bridge. This was one of the Consular class's most appreciated features, loved by diverse alien species because the interior could be designed to match their environments of their homeworld. And to make sure it could keep up with the Republic fleet, the hyperdrive was bumped up to a Class 1.5 from a Class 2, which is really important because that is the exact same hyperspace speed as the ARC-170, and most likely to be the same as the Z-95 Headhunter, meaning these ships could all coordinate their attacks. And interestingly, despite the increased weaponry, it still retained a 9-man crew, making me think that some of the technicians or communications officers would be able to double as gunners. And speaking of communications, one of the most important aspects of the Consular was its wide array of sensors and communication dishes. These were necessary for opening up talks with the thousands of species that the Republic contacted, giving the ships the ability to process even the most alien of signals. When war broke out, not only would this be an enormous target, but it wasn't exactly the C-70's role to go around and have chats with new species. Anywhere this ship was going was either already under Republic control or in the hands of the CIS, so important signals would be heavily encrypted either way. If you're thinking this could have been adapted to become a surveillance ship, I think it is very likely that some were retrofitted, like we see with the IGV-55 surveillance ship used by the Empire. That was a ship that was just built up from a Wasantwisut-class cruiser, so I would expect to see something similar with the C-70. During the length of the Clone Wars, the C-70 earned its name as the Charger because of its ability to rush past enemy blockades. Like its relative, the aptly nicknamed Blockade Runner, the Corellian CR-90 that was used by rebels, the CR-70 was able to charge past the Munificence and Providence-class ships that blockaded many worlds. This was made possible to an increase in the armored hull plating and a top atmospheric speed of 1,200 km per hour or 746 miles per hour, making it a bit slower than the TIE Fighter, but much faster than the ARC-170 and still beats out the Z-95. It's also important to point out that it was a couple of 100 km per hour faster than most capital ships, and a 33% increase in speed over the Consular. Now remember that the hull length was increased, meaning that it now had room for 20 troops, and quadrupled its cargo capacity from 1,000 to 4,000 tons, meaning it could transport the weight of 4,900 dupaks, a perfect ransom to buy back Republic prisoners of war. And last but certainly not least was its addition of a full medical suite, complete with a 2-1B surgical droid. Though the Consular and Charger won't have exactly the same interiors, if you want to see a complete breakdown of the Consular's cross-section, be sure to check out the video we did on that ship. Interestingly enough, the first time we see the Charger C70, it was being used in a similar role to its Consular predecessor, when Yoda used one to visit the Toydarian king, Katunko. This was a diplomatic role, attempting to keep the world from joining the CIS, but our green friend may have only survived due to the militarized retrofitting, which ironically was directed personally by Supreme Chancellor Palpatine. These upgrades allowed the C70 to evade CIS capital ships, and having 4 escape pods instead of 2 doubled the likelihood of survival, as Yoda and his troopers all packed into a single pod. Later, when Anakin's flagship, the Resolute, was captured, the Charger's surgical droid kept the Chosen One alive, before the ship had to make a crash landing on Mara Dun. We can also see that it was entrusted with transporting important beings, both allies and villains. Newt Gunray was transported on a C-70 on his way to the Venator Star Destroyer the Tranquility, and when Senator Anaconda Farr was killed, a Charger was used to transport his body back to his homeworld of Rhodia. So you can see this really was one of the most versatile ships used by the Republic, but as with so many other great Republic vehicles, Palpatine wanted them retired after the declaration of the New Order. But this was an awesome opportunity for the budding Rebel Alliance, which made sure that certain Clone Wars ships got lost on their way to the junkyard. So that's it for its history, and the only cool behind the scenes fact is that it first appeared in the 2008 Star Wars The Clone Wars film, and then was in the very first episode of the Clone Wars TV show. And it only got its name, the Charger C70, as recently as 2018, in the Star Wars Encyclopedia of Starfighters and Other Vehicles. We got the other facts from reference books like the Clone Wars Campaign Guide and the Age of Rebellion Core Rulebook. So that's it for the Charger C70. If you want to connect with us, help support this channel, or get your own copies of the reference materials used to make this video, be sure to check out the links in the description. Special shout out to our supporters over on Patreon, but most important of all, remember, diplomacy works best when backed by turbo lasers, and the Force will be with you, always.